Thanks, and thank you for having us. So I think the best way to start talking about our adoption story, our family's adoption story, is a quick little background on Drew and what had been going on with him before he came into our lives. So for his first 9 months, Drew was living on the street. He was neglected pretty badly. He was born in a motel, never received any medical attention, never seen a doctor. And when he was 8.5 months old, his bio mom was arrested, in jail. She did not tell the police that he existed and left him with a transient friend of hers who a couple weeks later thought with his whooping cough that he would quite possibly die without medical intervention. So she dropped him off at a hospital, left a fake name and number, and he was just kind of this mystery baby for a long time. While all that was going on, me and Kelli were getting our foster parent license. We were first-time foster parents, first-time parents of any kind, for that matter. And, it's kind of a slow or weird process getting your license, but then it started to move quickly. We got our license. We got a call saying we had a license. And 2 hours later, we got a call saying we had a placement, which was true. So we went to the hospital to meet him. Walking into that hospital room was by far the scariest thing I ever have done, just like having no idea what was waiting. But what we found was Drew. He was always been a beautiful baby, but he was not in great shape. Aside from the whooping cough, he was banging his head on the side of the metal hospital crib. He wouldn't look people in the face. He had no preference for who held him, which are all like really classic signs of attachment disorder. He couldn't sit up. He was like really not doing that well. Of course, he came home with us, and it was such a weird experience. Like that in particular, I remember buckling him into the car seat to drive him home from the hospital, and having this kid that was in our care, like 100%, he was going to stay the night at our house and everything. But past that, we had no idea, like, anything. Is some other relative going to be fleshed out on, Tuesday when we find him in a few days, or is he going to become our son forever? It felt like kidnapping. Actually, the whole way driving home, I was looking in the rearview mirror because I expected to see, like, police and, an Amber Alert on my... But it didn't happen. We got him home and then didn't hear anything for like a week. We didn't get assigned a social worker or anything. The first person to call us, the first person assigned to Drew's case was Rob Waring, who works with the East Bay Children's Law Offices, and he'd just been assigned as Drew's Dependency Counsel. He was the first person on the case. He was the only person to stay with the case the whole 865 days it took. And he was really amazing. So that call, he was calling, I think, to find out from us, like what was going on, but we kind of turned the call around, and he was really helpful to us from the start. He was the one who was able to call social services and say, maybe you forgot about a case and he needs a social worker. From there, we were off and rolling. Drew was our foster son. Like I said, it took over 2 years. The case had kind of all of the ups and downs you might expect. Follow the standard process, and then late in the game is a paternity test. Late in the game after that is additional biofamily discovery. Even later than that are, appeals to the termination of parental rights, and then rescinding the appeals, and then clerical errors that cause delays. I think it was a typical case that most foster parents are totally unprepared for, at least the first time through. And through that all, also Rob was helpful. He would kind of talk to us in the hallways afterwards and say, like, just give us like a 30-second, what was actually decided there? Because it went by so fast, and to non-lawyers, it was really just, and there are all these terms and, very confusing. One thing that really stood out as a high point in court for us was, it was the court date after we had gotten our de facto parent status, and the judge was doing the roll call and heard we were the de facto parents now, and invited us up to sit at the table from the audience part. And that was just like an amazing experience, because so these court cases are about reunification and, a foster child case. It's not about the foster parents, and it shouldn't be, and that's the right thing. But especially with concurrent planning parents where they're open and even hoping to adopt the child depending on the case, it's, the court is indirectly, but still also ruling on like how me and Kelli's lives were going to go. Is reunification going to happen in a couple days, in a couple months, or again, is he going to be the guy who, takes care of us in our old age? And so just being invited to like sit at the table, even though we didn't say anything, and I think we might have said 5 words in court during the whole like 2.5 years, but just being invited to sit at that table and feel like you were a part of it was like, it was so amazing to us. But yeah, so, during that whole time, Rob, the Dependency Council, he really continued a relationship with Drew and got to know Drew. He like knew Drew's favorite colors and how high he could count in the letters and the numbers and his favorite toys, and would talk in court about it. And sort of more than that, what impressed us about him was he was the only person in this case who had no other interests or anything he had to think about except for Drew's well-being. Every other lawyer there, every, social workers, bio parents, they all had some other things they had to consider in addition to Drew's well-being, but like Rob was 100% devoted to him. And that was, it was very nice to have that. He kept the case going. And, it made us feel a lot better. It's very hard as a foster parent to not know what's going to happen with reunification, especially later in the process. It's one thing a month in, it's another thing a year and a half later when parental rights had been terminated, but the court case is still going on, and it gets, even harder. And just knowing that, like, Rob might not have even been thinking that adoption was the right thing the whole time, but he was definitely looking out for Drew the whole time. And that made us feel more comfortable that if reunification happened, like, someone who is really thinking objectively about Drew's interests has like decided it was the right thing, and made that case well. He argued well. But yeah, so after a couple of years, everything wrapped up. We were able to adopt Drew on January 13th of this year. We had like the best adoption party ever with like chocolate fountain and motorized animal ride-on scooters, and Spider-Man made an appearance. Also, Rob made an appearance, which was almost as cool. But yeah, the whole process was really, it was hard and harrowing, but it was still amazing. It was amazing to watch Drew go from a 9-month-old who wouldn't look at people and couldn't sit up to like this amazing guy before you right now. He's at 3.5. He can write his name and he knows all his letters, and he can ride a bike with no training wheels. Wow. He's super athletic, which we are not. It's like another interesting thing about adoption is like they have a totally different set of strengths, it seems like. But yeah, it ended up, we considered it positive enough that tomorrow morning at 10, we have a licensing inspector coming over for another, to get renewed, and we're going to put our names on the list, which if last time was any indication, we could have a new kid of, we're not sure of the age or gender or anything in 36 hours, or it could be a few months. But yeah, it's an interesting world, adoption, but we're really, really happy we did it, and it's a great way to build a family. And the permanency aspect, I can't say how much it means to be able to like look at Drew and say, I will be your dad forever, you'll be my son forever, Kelli will be your mom forever, and we will be a family together forever. That, it just means so much to be able to say that. So yeah, that's all I end with that. Thank you.
Well, Mike, we are so delighted and pleased that you have told us the story and poured out your heart and demonstrated your courage and your bravery and in the unknown with the court dates. And the heart that you and Kelli bring, and telling us how important it is to have Dependency Council, because we have discussions here about numbers and dollar signs, but it's priceless what it means, and you've described what it means to Drew and to you all, and we couldn't be happier that you're here, and makes us feel really great to have a glimpse into your life and how excited, and we feel your joy, and we're so happy you're here and so excited about your future, and you're putting your hat in the ring again. Just is truly delightful for all of us, and it makes our day, and we can't wait to see Drew up close.
Thank you.